So this treatment was there only using this treatment we understand how you get current response of applied potential in case of cyclic voltammetry. This is completely qualitative treatment to understand the cyclic voltammogram. Now we'll go ahead and we are going to see how the continuity pictures looks like when we introduce the mathematics, how it looks like. So we'll go ahead with this idea. Okay, in last time in case of chronoamperometry, that is potential step experiments, we have two boundary conditions. We have two boundary conditions, if you remember. The first boundary condition is called semi-infinite condition, where we talk about concentration. What will happen to concentration species O at time t0, at time t is equal to 0, obviously it's going to be CO star. We are talking about reaction O plus Ne goes to R. And we have another condition, so called semi-infinite boundary condition, where at infinite distance again concentration of O is going to be CO star at all t. That was the condition we used last time. One more condition we used to express the potential step. What was the condition? CO0t is equal to CO star at t is equal to 0, obviously. That means surface concentration of O is equal to bulk concentration at t is equal to 0. But after applying potential step, already we discussed this formation of depletion layer. And due to depletion layer, the concentration of species O falls to 0 near the interface. To express that, what we have done, we have the condition, this is equal to, on the surface this is equal to 0 and t is equal to 0. This is for potential step. But in case of cyclic voltammetry, this condition remains same, identical, which is semi-infinite boundary condition. But now this condition will replace by another condition due to now we don't have potential step. Instead of that, what we have a sweep. Okay, so how are we going to represent the sweep of the potential, or what we have to represent here is how the potential will change with time. And already we know it change increasing with time and then again decreasing with time. So this portion we can express as potential now is not fixed or step, it is changing with time. Okay, and this is initial potential and this is my change with time, where nu, this is called scan rate. So this is how the potential change with time, which is represented by this triangular wave. Now what is the assumption here? The assumption here is that my electron transfer O plus Ne goes to R on the interface is taking place so fast. O is taking electron and getting into R and back into O is so fast. Remember we were talking about this standard rate constant K0. Here we are assuming that reaction is so fast that K0 is very large. Okay, so exchange is very fast. That means what? That means at each and every instant the equilibrium is attained. Okay, reaction is so fast, the slight change in potential, it will adjust the concentration of O and R. It will adjust the concentration of ratio of concentration of O and R with the potential, and then which equation will follow? Obviously it will follow Nernst equation. That means each and every step the system is following Nernst equation, which is a condition for equilibrium. So each and every step what I am having is this condition. If you remember this, plus I am writing for this reaction RT by NF ln CO0T upon CR02. That is surface concentration of O and R at time t. So this is Nernst equation we are talking about. So each and every time my Nernst equation is satisfied. This is basically my third condition. Okay, this is first condition. This is my second condition, which is replaced by this condition for cyclometry, and this is my third condition. But so if I substitute this condition, impose this condition on this equation, so what I get now here, my potential is changing with time, right? So what I'm going to replace, I'm replacing this potential with this equation. So what I get is this. What I get is EI. I am plugging this equation into this equation, so I get EI minus mu t, okay, is equal to E0 dash, which is the formal redox potential, you know already, plus RT by NF ln CO0T upon CR0T. I just plug this E with this E, because in our case E is now time dependent. Well, if you rearrange this equation, then EI minus nu t minus E0 dash, okay, is equal to RT by NF ln CO0T upon CR0T. So if I rearrange a little bit here and here, so I get EI minus nu t minus E0 dash upon RT, okay, into NF, so NF will come here, is equal to ln of CO0T upon CR0T. Okay, taking exponential on both the sides, you know that, right? What I get is CO0T upon CR0T is equal to what? E raised to EI minus nu t minus E0 dash into NF upon RT. This I can call as function T. So this is my third boundary condition. Now what I am going to do now? So we have three boundary conditions. One is semi-infinite boundary condition. Second one is time dependent potential, and third one basically is imposing that on the Nernst equation. And if you impose that whole this boundary condition, if I put which equation, then I have to put? I have to put all this boundary condition on my fixed diffusion law, because our whole process is diffusion control. So I have differential equation which is fixed diffusion law, d CO0T by dou t is equal to T0 dou t CO xt upon dou x square, and I put this 1, 2, 3 boundary condition and solve this equation. This equation is very difficult to solve analytically. So what people are doing here is that we have to use numerical methods for solving such equations. Sometimes we use computational method to solve such equations, and then what we get after solving by numerically, what we get a solution for this, and then we have to mix with Butler-Ulmer equation. If you remember, we have to use Butler-Ulmer equation. So mixing all this with Butler-Ulmer equation, okay, what it tells us? It tells us about how cathodic current will change with potential and how anodic current will change with the potential. So if I impose this, all these things, mix all these things and solve mathematics, the solution what we are getting is this. Don't worry about all these functions, don't worry about all these things. These are all numerical time, which is called dimensionless quantity. So this is how current will change with the some dimensionless quantity. In fact, those values, that is like pi raised to half chi sigma t. Now we can make it. People are made a table out of it. How this function will change with the potential. Okay, and now we have a table to solve this. Okay, we should not go for too much about mathematics, but if you do that, what you get a equation which is more familiar to you, which is the peak potential, peak current. Okay, in cyclotron, remember this cyclotomogram, you get I versus E kind of function. So this is a peak current, IP. In fact, I can call for this is peak current cathodic, because I am studying the reduction reaction now. O plus E goes to R for forward slip, forward sweep, and I get reverse slip, this equation. So I am talking about now forward. So this is called peak cathodic current and this is called peak anodic current. So peak current I can express by the equation. Three by 2 area, diffusion coefficient raised to half, CO star and scannet raised to half. So if you calculate this value for 25 degrees centigrade, you know this F is Faraday's constant, R is gas constant, and P is the absolute temperature. Then we get equation which you already use in your MSc practical. That is I is equal to 2.69 into 10 raised to 5 n raised to 3 by 2 area, again diffusion coefficient raised to half, CO star and scanner raised to half. This equation is called Randall Sevcik equation. So this Randall's Sevcik equation, okay, for the reversible electron transfer reaction. Okay, that means what? K0 is large, exchange current density is large, and standard rate constant is large. That means what? Let us see what happens to actually cyclovoltammogram. How does it look? What we are trying to tell you that since reaction is fast, the typical cyclovoltammogram for O plus Me goes to R. So what we are seeing here is that the current is increases and then develop somewhere, and we come down. Okay, and exactly reversible one. I didn't draw it nicely and draw it nicely. Okay, this is actually IP cathodic. Okay, and what is this? IP anodic. Peak current, peak cathodic current and peak anodic current. Here since my process is reversible one, that means what? My forward current, peak current is equal to my reverse peak current. So the ratio is going to be 1. Okay, that means what? If you integrate or calculate number of coulombs under these two curves, okay, you'll find that they are exactly equal. That means if I give you 1,000 rupees and if you ask this money back immediately, you are in a position to give this money back immediately. That means my electron transfer is reversible one and fast one. Well, this is the Randall-Savicek equation. Let us now see the characteristic of this Randall-Savicek equation, where now using this equation I can take now the mean of these two potentials, potential at which you get this peak and potential at which you get this peak. Okay, I can determine now, if I take these two peaks, two potentials, this is anodic potential, this is cathodic potential, and if I take average of these two, what you get basically is U dash, that is formal redox potential of the couple. This is a very important characteristic and it's a very important application for determining this standard redox potential using cyclic voltammetry. Okay, it's only for reversible system. Okay, one more thing is there. Now the difference between these two potential delta E, okay, is equal to EPA minus EPC cathodic and anodic. Okay, this is equal to 0.059 upon N whole. This is very important characteristic basically to check whether the reaction is reversible or not. If the reaction is reversible, for example, K3FeCN6 is getting reduced to K4FeCN6 and back, you get reversible system. Okay, in that situation, this difference between peak, anodic peak and cathodic peak will get 0.059 upon N, when N is number of electron transfer reaction. If you get this, that means we say the system which is handling basically is a reversible one. So there are two, as I told you, there are two very important application that we can determine now, the standard redox potential of the system. One more characteristic is that even if you change, since my electron transfer is fast, even if you go for faster scan rate, even if you scan the potential very fast, the peak potential will never change. Only current will change with the scan rate, with the function of I versus scan rate. Okay, so if you keep on increasing the scan rate, what you get, only you get is, okay, higher and higher current, but peak potential will never change. Okay, it will at exactly same point. Okay, that is another characteristic of the reversible system. So these two characteristics we can check for the system, whether the system is reversible one or not. Reversible one for our case is basically each and every step it is following Nernst equation. Okay, that means my K0 is large. Let us see the application. Suppose this is a simple K3FeCN6 is going to K4FeCN6 and reverse one. Suppose now I have another interesting system. Suppose I have got aromatic system. Suppose I have anthracene or pentacene. You know this aromatic system. They can accept the electron and they can form anion radical, and they can lose the electron and they will form cation radical. Those in situation, since the system is aromatic, those radicals are very stable. So if you happen to record the cyclophotomogram for such aromatic system like pentanene molecule or anthracene molecule, what you get, suppose my aromatic system, after accepting electron, it will form A dot minus. It is called anion radical. Okay, if I happen to record cyclophotomogram for such system, so that means I am applying negative bias. So what I am going to see here is that my potential is increasing toward negative side, negative potential, and I get peak. Okay, for this electron transfer reaction. Okay, and if I reverse the potential, that means this is my applied potential. I am increasing. After switching potential, potential is decreasing with time. So E versus T. So after the switching potential, if I reverse the potential, I get complementary peak like this. Again, if I integrate the area under both the peaks, they are identical one. That means my system is reversible one. Here this anthracene molecule is getting reduced into anion radical here. Okay, and then after reversing the potential, this anion radical is getting oxidized back into anthracene. That's why you get another complementary reversible peak, the cathodic peak and complementary anodic peak. Suppose if I go towards more positive potential, the same anthracene molecule, okay, get oxidized into anthracene positive radical. Okay, and what you get, oxidation peak means anodic peak, you get another peak like this. Okay, and then this is again a stable system and it can hold the electron. And if you reverse the potential, that means again come back to another potential. I am going now this side, right? So I am going here and coming back to this point. Now what I'm going to get basically is another complementary peak. Okay, because my system again is reversible one. This is for formation of anion radical back to the neutral molecule. This is for formation of cation radical, that's oxidation, and this is my reaction reversible one. I get complementary cathodic peak. So I got anodic peak, cathodic peak, and I got anodic peak. Why I am telling you all these things? Because in aromatic system, if you see, if the systems happen to accept the electron, then where it will go? The electron will go to empty molecular orbital. Okay, and where empty molecular orbitals are, which are basically lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. So, if you remember this, your aromatic system, I got some antibonding orbital, I have some bonding orbital. This is the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. Okay, LUMO, and you have got highest occupied molecular orbital. So you have electrons here. Okay, and when this electron transfer occurs, the electron will go to where? Into LUMO. So that means this cathodic peak, you can mark LUMO of the molecule. Same way, if you take electron from the system, from where electron will come? Electron will come from the HOMO, highest occupied molecular orbital. Obviously, this anodic peak will tell you HOMO. So it is a very important application of cyclic photometry to determine to mark the HOMO and LUMO state of the aromatic system. In fact, tons of data is available to verify this. People have done ultraviolet photoelectron spectroscopy, and people have realized that this the spectroscopic in the spectroscopic results are matched very well with cyclic photometric data, and there's tons of data available for this. And in fact, this is the routine way many inorganic chemists studies the formation of complex with metal ion. Well, suppose we have another system where it has got multiple steps, like C60 molecule. You know C60 Minister fullerene. Okay, in C60 molecule we have multiple electronic states, like it can accept the electron. Okay, on those steps, these are field states. So if you keep on adding this electron, every step you can keep on adding. Okay, and all this electron transfer is reversible one. So what you see is kind of cyclotomogram of the, you can see like this: first electron transfer, second electron transfer, third electron transfer, fourth electron transfer, fifth up to sixth. This molecule can undergo electron transfer reaction. And if you reversible one, again what you get is basically kind of a reverse cyclotomogram. This was first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, and sixth one. So such system can easily be studied by cyclic photometry. This is a story for reversible system, but what happens if my electron transfer is not reversible one or not completely reversible one? For example, if I get someone 1,000 rupees, okay, and if I ask this 1,000 rupees back, then he will not give immediately. He will take some time. He will say, I'll give you tomorrow, and then eventually he will give me back. Okay, that is a typical example of quasi-reversible system. That means my reaction is reversible but slow one. That means what? My K0 is small. So quasi-reversible system, if my system is quasi-reversible, again I have got O plus N equals to R, but my K0 is small. That means I am going to get my money back, but after some time. Okay, so if you take the response of such quasi-reversible system, okay, if I record cyclotomogram for such system, what I see is kind of response is very sluggish response. Okay, like this. So normally, what kind of response we see here? In case of reversible system, we get nice response like this, right? And you get very sluggish response. Okay, and for this system, now the peak potential change with the scan rate. So if you go for higher scan rate, what you see, the peak potential is changing with scan rate like this. If you go to higher scan rate, you get still diffuse peaks like this. So one of the characteristic of quasi-reversible system is peak potentials are changing with the scan rate, and you can use the mathematics to solve all these things. How peak potential is the scan rate? By the equation E0 dash minus RT by alpha n f. You remember alpha, a transfer coefficient we studied in the Butler-Ulmer equation is alpha, and then 0.78 minus ln k0, remember k0 is standard rate constant, upon d raised to half plus ln alpha n is the number of electron transfer, f is Faraday's constant, nu is scan rate, upon RT raised to half. So peak potential change with the scan rate. In fact, if you take the peak potential, so if you have considered typical cyclic photomogram for quasi-reversible system, okay. So half peak potential means what? This is a peak potential, and this half peak potential, that means at half current, if you measure, is called EP half. That means current is half than that of the peak current. Okay. So if I see the difference between peak potential minus EP half is going to be 48 upon alpha n millijoule. So again, using this expression, I can determine the alpha of the electron transfer reaction. So this is the case for quasi-reversible system. So quasi-reversible, what are characteristic? Since a slow reaction, okay, the peak potential or the peak current are smaller than the reversible system. Number one. Number two, the peak potential change with the scan rate with this equation. So we can immediately distinguish between these two situations by cyclic voltammetry. If my peak potential is not changing with time or scan rate, I can say the system is reversible one. If it is changing with the scan rate, I can say the system is quasi-reversible one. Only characteristic of quasi-reversible system is this: number of coulombs which are passed in forward reaction is exactly equal to number of coulombs passed in reverse reaction. Okay, that means system is kind of reversible but slow one. As I told you the example, if I give 1000 rupees, if I get it back immediately, when I ask, that is my reversible system. But if I give 1000 rupees and if you keep on telling me I will give you tomorrow, I will give you tomorrow, I will give you tomorrow, and eventually give you return money back, okay, that is quasi-reversible system. There's one more system here, okay, which is called completely irreversible system. Okay. In irreversible system, I have that means I don't have this back arrow, I have only forward arrow. Reaction goes and doesn't come back. So if you see the response for that, what is the quick response? I am giving you the money, 1000 rupees to you, but I am not getting single penny back. Okay, this reaction is called irreversible system. Okay, in case of irreversible system, basically one can immediately judge this is a kind of current what we get by recording this cyclic voltammogram.